Hi, everybody. I'm back on the Stockton University campus, and I'm inviting you to think and pray through the Ten Commandments. And today I'm sitting in one of the many gazebos on the Stockton campus. And in doing so, I encourage you to find some spots on your campus where you can pray alone or with a few friends. Perhaps you can prayer walk between specific places that can become your pattern of prayer on your campus. On the final video in this series, I'll be giving an announcement about our YWAM Stew Center app with various resources, including an interactive prayer map of the Stockton University campus. The sixth commandment is very short, just 4 words: you shall not murder. Now, most of us hear that and think, well, I've never done that, so I guess I'm good. But then Jesus takes that command and raises the bar. In Matthew chapter 5, he says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder. But I say to you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment." Jesus tells us it's not just about taking someone's life. It's about the anger, the insults, and bitterness that can grow inside us. That's where murder begins. Think about Cain and Abel, the very first murder in the Bible. Both brothers brought offerings to God. Abel's was accepted, Cain's was not, and Cain got angry, jealous. God actually warned him, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Cain didn't listen. That anger at his brother turned into violence. And while you and I may never raise a hand to kill, how many times do you let the same kind of anger live in you? How many times while driving have we muttered under our breath, "idiot," or perhaps at someone in frustration? We've stewed silently in bitterness. It seems small, but Jesus says that seeds of anger are what grow and destroy relationships. It separates us from each other and from God. So the question is, what do we do with anger? Because anger itself isn't always wrong. Paul says in Ephesians, "In your anger, do not sin." It's okay to feel anger, but it matters what we do next. Let's look at Jesus as our example. One day he was walking into Jericho. The whole town lined the streets, excited to see him, but there was also tension in the air. These people lived under Roman oppression. They were taxed heavily, unfairly, and they all knew the man who represented that injustice: Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector. And there he was trying to see Jesus, but the crowd, filled with anger, blocked him. They weren't going to give this traitor a chance. But Jesus did something surprising. He didn't ignore the injustice Zacchaeus represented, but he didn't let his anger turn into cruelty either. He looked up, called Zacchaeus by name, and said, "Come down. I'm going to your house today." And that moment changed everything. Zacchaeus repented. He gave half of what he owned to the poor. He promised to repay anyone he cheated 4 times over. Jesus showed us that anger and injustice doesn't have to lead to hate. It can lead to redemption. We see the same thing in the home of Mary and Martha. Martha was upset that her sister wasn't helping serve, but sitting at Jesus' feet with the men. That wasn't culturally acceptable. And beneath Martha's complaint was frustration, maybe even anger at the unfairness. Did you know women's colleges were not started in the United States until the 1830s? That's nearly 2,000 years after Jesus told Martha that Mary chose the better portion. And women were not enrolled in universities with men in the universities in the United States until the 1870s. The first university was established in Bologna, Italy, in 1088. And thankfully, they accepted women much earlier than we did here in the United States. Women were enrolled at the university in Bologna in the 13th century. But Jesus gently redirected Martha. He said, Mary has chosen what is better. He didn't lash out. He didn't shame Martha. He quietly, lovingly turned the moment upside down, showing that women too had the right to be disciples. Jesus was angry about injustice, but his anger was always slow, always controlled, always pointed toward love and restoration. And that's our call too. God himself is described as slow to anger and abounding in love. And self-control is the fruit of the Spirit that he planted in us. When we see something wrong, it's natural to feel angry, but what matters is how we respond. Do we lash out, or do we let the Spirit guide us toward peace, forgiveness, and actions that actually bring healing? The sixth commandment is more than do not murder. It's an invitation. Guard your heart, because anger is crouching at the door. But filled with the Spirit of Christ, we don't have to let anger in. Instead, like Jesus, we can choose a better way, a way that changes lives, heals relationships, and leads us closer to the heart of God. In our next video, we'll talk about the seventh commandment.